will, during the next 75 minutes, first discuss the retail payment strategy in terms of the content, and then following in the last 20 to 30 minutes, a discussion about what are the next steps and how will it be implemented. During this debate, you have the possibility to raise questions for the speakers, and you do that by using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will, after having a first round, take the first questions from you, and then also towards the end on the implementation part, we also have the possibility to address some questions. Without much further ado, I will now start the session with first raising the first question to Eric de Colombier. He is the head of the Retail Financial Services Unit at DG FISMA, who was responsible for preparing the strategy. Eric, why was there a need for a new EU retail payment strategy?
Good morning, everyone. Why was there a need? Well, I think I will give you an easy answer. There was a need for a strategy because there was a conviction by the Commission that payments were becoming strategic. So since payments have become strategic, we thought it was indispensable to explain in a policy, in a political document, what is our vision of payments, and what are the main initiatives that we believe should be taken in order to achieve such a vision. So that's the quick and easy answer to your question.
And if you look at your own strategy, what are in your view the key elements of that vision and the actions that should be taken related to retail payments?
Yeah, I mean, this strategy is quite a rich and dense piece of policy. It is divided, if you want, in four sections, and for each and every of these four sections, you will find the key initiatives. If I can maybe summarize these initiatives or highlight the main ones, I think it is fair to say that instant payments is in a way the flagship of this strategy, and more or less, I would say the overwhelming majority of initiative would, in one way or the other, serve this overall and general and main target, which is to achieve a full rollout of instant payments and instant payment-based solutions in the EU. So whether we talk about markets, whether we talk about infrastructures, whether we talk about payment solution, all in a way, in one form or the other, boils down to us supporting, promoting instant payments in the EU. I think you are on mute.
It's very much focused on instant payments, but of course the Commission is already focusing on instant payment for quite some time now. To what extent is there basically then a shift with this strategy, or what is new?
Well, what is new is the absolute political Commission-wide recognition of the strategic importance of instant payments for the EU as a driver for innovation, competition, as a means of protecting, preserving our open strategic autonomy. So if you want, the political messaging in itself is key. And it had never been said that forcefully by the Commission before. Although you are right, it's not the first time the Commission expresses interest for instant payment, but having put it in that way at the highest political level in the Commission was new. So this should leave people with no doubt whatsoever about this being a priority for the Commission. And by the way, not only for the Commission, but also for other institutions like the ECB. But okay, this is our strategy. So I will not, of course, talk about others. So yeah, that was new. What was also new is beyond the incantations, if you want, supporting instant payment, we've also put on paper what we believe should be the necessary steps which should be taken in all, you know, in all the dimensions of instant payment, you know, at the infrastructure layer, at the end user solution layer, at the scheme layer. So for all these three layers, if you want, we said, okay, this is what we believe should be done. So that in itself is new because it had never been said in that way before. What is also new, I think, is we've tried to put a kind of end date to this. We've clearly said that we would like instant payment to be fully rolled out in the EU by the end of next year, which again had never been said like this before, apart maybe in a speech from EVP Dombrovskis a year ago, but it had never been written in a Commission official document, if you want. So that's if you want, that's what is new: the political recognition, the means to get there, and the date by which we would like that to be done. So if this, in a way, I think was the novelty with the strategy.
And are there other elements that you would say, like maybe is less prominent in the strategy, but what you think is very important?
Well, I would say the fact of being in the strategy shows the prominence. So I would not like to rank things in terms of whether or not they are, you know, important or not. They are all important. What might be different, if you want, is the timeline for these initiatives and actions. So this is where perhaps there is a time ranking, if you want, to be done instead of an importance ranking. So that I would not like people to believe there are things which are less important. For us, these initiatives, these 26 pages of strategy are all important. Instant payment, if you want, is the fil rouge, the common thread that runs across. And the call that we've made for the emergence of homegrown pan-European payment solutions. This is also what you will see running through this whole strategy. Also, the importance to protect consumers is something which also, for me, is something that is common to all the initiatives that we are announcing. So everything is important. Instant payment is probably the flagship, but all the other measures have to be considered as priorities. We could have written, you know, a 50-page long strategy, maybe that would have been things of lesser importance. But this, if you want, is the essence of what we believe are indispensable actions on payments solutions, on payment markets, on payment infrastructures, and on the international dimension of payments.
Thank you very much, Eric. We will come back, of course, to you later in the debate as well. But now I would like to move to Roeland van der Stappen. He is head of regulatory affairs in Europe at Visa. Looking from your perspective, working for a card scheme, what is your view on the strategy, Roeland?
First of all, I would say I would have loved to have read the 50-page strategy, Eric. But maybe first would like to explain where we come from as Visa, and then give 3 key messages. So we approach this as an established card network, but also a technology provider in the instant payments world, because some of the card network capabilities are easily transferable to an instant payments world, where secure authentication of buyer-sellers tokenization are as relevant across both payment instruments. And then second to that, we also have innovative payment solutions like real-time card-based solutions that kind of compete in the same league with instant ACH solutions. So having that in mind, that's how we approach the retail payment strategy. We continue to evolve our business model to respond to the changing consumer and merchant needs. And I think Commission is right to, given that the market is changing on that. I'd like to give three key messages. The first is I would challenge a bit the concept that instant payments, quote unquote, will be the new normal. I think we do see that instant payments will be increasing part of the payment mix in Europe, but the instant settlement of the funds might be of interest to merchants, but it's only one facet of a transaction that matters to consumers. We see there are clear use cases in peer-to-peer payments, digital remittances, or the gig economy. Think about Deliveroo. All of these transactions tend to be underpinned by real-time payment solutions. But in other instances, consumers may equally and legitimately care about other facets of a transaction, such as the speed of authorization. And listening yesterday, for example, to the EPIF workshop, I understood from the EPC that account-to-account payment solutions, they are authorized within 5 seconds, which sounds fast, but a contactless transaction is 300 to 500 milliseconds. So if I take the metro in Brussels, and we now finally have an open transit payment system there, I would have a different experience if I have to wait 5 seconds rather than 300 milliseconds. And so would the people probably behind me in the queue. So that's just one example of how different aspects of a transaction may matter to the use case. And obviously, as Eric already mentioned, I'm pretty sure Jean will as well, is consumer protection is another aspect. Account-to-account payment solutions, they do not offer the same level of protection as cards where everything is bundled into one product. And in instant payments, we'll see unbundling of services to some extent. There are no chargebacks options. There are no protections in case of faulty delivery or non-delivery of services and goods. And merchants can themselves offer some guarantee, but I think from a Visa perspective, it's important that moving forward, consumers are clearly aware of the differences in protection attached to those payment instruments so they can make an informed choice. So we think consumer protection should be to some extent an informed choice, whereas security isn't. And there we think looking at to instant payments, I think there's a lot of work still to be done within the ecosystem to make sure that we have instant payment prevention capabilities that allow to do that in real time, and we're not always there yet. And the second point I like to make is that we very much support the Commission's vision for open and interoperable payment systems, and not only from an innovation perspective, because we have the experience of having an open network as we allow for fintech, big tech, and other players on our network to operate, also giving access to our capabilities. And that really boosts innovation and allows also European consumers to get access to the best the world has to offer. But we also think that having a diverse and open ecosystem also allows for greater resilience, because choice and diversity also allow for greater resilience. So that's something to keep in mind and understand. That's one of the also key pillars behind the payment sovereignty agenda. And the third point I like to make, quickly touch on the digital euro. Obviously, we see that the impact of COVID-19 on consumer behavior and the acceleration in the adoption of digital payment instruments raises some interesting questions, in particular for central banks. And we still think Europe remains a heavy cash user. And for example, in Sweden, I think the level of cash transactions in value is still 20%, but it's a good time to already start discussing around the potential digital euro construct. And from our perspective, we think a digital euro could be part of a payment mix. And we would probably think that a token model is the way to go, because it would allow for offline usage. And then you have a digital euro that is very close to cash, but also there, cyber security and resilience are important. And then, as I mentioned before, the open systems are the way to go forward. And we would then prefer a decentralized model where also third parties can help, for example, improve transaction security. But maybe I'll pause here.
Thank you, Roland. I think some interesting statements. But I would like to go now to Ana Clemente. She is head of Open Banking Spain at BBVA. Ana, BBVA is together with 15 other major European banks working on the implementation of the European Payment Initiative, EPI. Could you say some more about these initiatives and why BBVA is involved in this with all these large European banks?
Hey, good morning to all of you. Yes, API will provide a pan-European end-to-end payment solution that wants to bring value to the market by enabling mainly 4 use cases. It's in-store, online, peer-to-peer payments, as well as cash withdrawals, and that anywhere in the Union. And all these 4 use cases will be addressed with a unique solution that will leverage a new card scheme and also the recent developments in instant payments in the European Union. So what are the main advantages of API? We believe that this solution will offer European citizens and businesses an alternative alternative and independent payments, which is secure, immediate, and easy to use. And moreover, we think that it would boost innovation in payments, improving also digitalization and internationalization of e-commerce. And this, all this within the European Union. This is particularly important for SMEs that will be able to grow beyond their national markets. And for a third advantage that I think is quite important is improving the competitiveness and the sovereignty in the European Union in the matter of payments. With competitiveness, I mean that we will be able to overcome the current fragmentation in payment solutions and will API will become a credible alternative to other payment solutions offered by non-European payments that are currently dominating the cross-border payments market within the EU, and also to new ones that can do so in the future. And by sovereignty, I mean that although the initial scope of API is the Eurozone, I think in the medium term, it could be exported to other geographies, I mean, in terms of acquirance, and thus support the international role of the euro and also benefit European travelers worldwide, enable them to pay with API, yes, like China does with UnionPay or Japan with JCB. So it's an alternative to those X-based alternatives like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and so on, and modern mobile wallets. So, and you also asked me why BBVA is involved in this initiative. Well, we see API as a great opportunity to have a truly pan-European payment solution that meets current customer needs and makes payments easy in seconds and even more friendly with a more friendly user experience. I think it will also improve our position in payment markets. And it also responds to the European Union authorities' expectations. But nevertheless, the project is in its initial phase. And when you size the opportunity in terms of investments and efforts, we are aware that to develop a new payment solution is considerably demanding. So its success will strongly depend on defining a value proposition that creates the right incentives to all stakeholders to join and use it. And here, regulatory certainty and stability should be granted to move participants to make this investment. And in this sense, we welcome the support to private payment solutions shown by the European Commission in the European Retail Payment Strategy. And however, we're concerned that future regulation interventions, particularly on instant payments, as Eric said, is the fil rouge all those solutions, and also the possible impact on sustainable business model may undermine the ability of the market players to develop innovative solutions to solve consumer and business needs. So I think sustainable business models favor innovation, and we have to also keep that in mind.
Thank you, Anna. EPI is referred to as very encouraging also in the strategy, primarily also because of the contribution towards cross-border payments and cross-border market development. So you must be pleased with that, I assume, as representing BBVA and participating in that initiative. Does it also mean that BBVA can find itself in the other parts of the strategy?
Yes, we share the Commission assessment of European retail payments market, and in fact, we think that it's quite comprehensive and accurate. And the ambition of a true single market with pan-European innovative payment solutions, it responds also to our strategic positioning. And we also welcome the Commission emphasizing the leading role of the private sector in the evolution of payments in the European Union. We also share this vision. However, the strategy is fairly comprehensive, and it includes a wide range of potential interventions that, in our opinion, could trigger a new wave of payment regulation that could divert funds from innovation to compliance. And so we agree that on the important role of security, open banking, and instant payments in the future of European payments. But we think that the regulatory framework is already quite comprehensive. I think it's too early to evaluate the full impact of the latest interventions, in particular of PSD2, for example, in its adoption, because we are still implementing it. It's not yet finished, and not to say to propose changes to it. So moreover, there are other related initiatives, as Roland mentioned, like the Digital Euro. And here I think it's paramount that the Commission and other European institutions clarify as soon as possible how it will interact with private solutions, so that private and public solutions don't overlap but complement each other in the benefit of the consumers, and private actors have certainty for the evaluation of business cases and investments in the payments fields. So in this sense, we encourage the Commission to focus its action in addressing those issues that can hold back innovation. And here I mean such as barriers to access technical elements required to implement innovative payment solutions, for example, NFC antennas, or solving the asymmetry that we have nowadays in data access and sharing created by PSD2, to have a cross-sectoral regulation. And also promote the adoption of electronic payment solutions by European merchants. And here, I think it's important to avoid imposing rules. In this area marked by user needs evolving at enormous speed, sustainable business model will encourage PSPs to respond to these challenges and to boost innovation. So we are convinced that consumer needs are the main driving force of innovation in the payments scenario in the European Union.
Thank you very much, Anna. We'll, of course, also come back to you later. I assume that there will be also some questions for you and otherwise in the implementation phase. I would like now to move to Thierry Antonin. He is Director Solution Consulting EMEA at ACI Worldwide. Thierry, at ACI, you're providing software solutions for digital payments. What is in your view? What's your view on the strategy?
What is interesting for us as a so thank you very much for putting the site together. What we can see, what's happening in Europe before answering your question is, I mean, there's millions of things happening, but there's three major topics that we keep our attention. Is basically the regionalization of basically the Europe of payment, which is very important for us. It gives more clarity. The second topic that is important as well is digitalization. So it has been said many times. If we look at what happened till now, we were talking for a long time about digitalization, but what all the initiative that was happening were all niche, driven by fintech, neobanks, some initiatives, some innovative banks. But to be honest, I mean, it was very limited and in terms of scalability. With the new strategy and the new announcement that is, I mean, or just said, communicate here. I mean, first the Commission and then the EPI. We have all the elements that we need in Europe to build a really global digital payment solution for the European people, and that's a major topic and a major step forward clarity for us as a software supplier, and it put us in a situation where basically we can plan investment forward, and it's very important. And finally, what is also very interesting is all the merger and acquisition trend that we can see. It's for a company like ACI, it's a risk, but also an opportunity. There are few players in the market that would be able, moving forward, to provide scalable, reliable solution and maintain over time the certification that is required today and that would be required moving forward. However, what we can see as well, I mean, there's some risk around consolidation, probably less market competition, and that might impact and the end consumer. So how, I mean, basically the question I would have here is how the regulator widely would basically take into account this aspect. And also there's probably, I mean, concentration is probably means more fragilities in some point in case of failure of fraudulent action. So how would, I mean, how basically the big question here is how the regulation, how the players globally would put action in place to make sure that we would continue to have reliable and secure payment mechanism, instrument processing in Europe moving forward. For us, as answering your question now, for us as a company, we need clarity. So the fact that there's a vision in Europe that says, okay, this is where we go. There's initiatives like EPI that are saying very clearly that we're going to build a card scheme. We have this ambition to cover the Eurozone first and then go beyond and eventually international. Is great. What we expect from now on is really, I mean, better clarity is what we expect to be simple. So what we would like to see now is a roadmap, access to the specification, and what even though, I mean, we would probably be seen as an American company, we are very well established in Europe and basically participating with our experience from other regions of the world and contribute to the scheme would be something that is absolutely crucial for us.
Thank you very much, Thierry. Before we move to Jean-Alix, I would like to also emphasize again that you can ask questions. I see that we already received the first questions from the audience, but please feel free. After Jean-Alix, we will answer a few of them. Jean-Alix, Special Advisor at Buick. You're, of course, representing the European consumers. I think I've heard all the speakers today mentioning already the importance of the consumers in also driving the innovation, but also to ensure that they are sufficiently protected. What are your views on the strategy, but maybe also some comments on the things that you have heard from the other speakers?
Thank you, Willem. Just to I can say that I agree, and I'm interested to hear that everybody considers that consumers are at the basis of this of this activity. As Buck, we have appreciate a lot the retail payment strategy as explained by Eric, because there is clearly in it a consumer motivation. What are our expectations? I think as regard consumers, we have, may I say, three objectives or three main lines. The first one is about security. In this category of security, I put something which has been discussed a lot with this strong customer authentication. We are opposed to any kind of report of this implementation of strong customer authentication, particularly in this current crisis. It's urgent to have the high level of consumer protection as regards security through strong customer authentication. We are very much also in favor of the idea of EID. EID could be a very positive alternative to the existing method of strong customer authentication. And we favor very much the DORA project, including the digital strategy about cyber security, even if we consider that some aspect of consumer issue has been underestimated in this new text. My second line is about convenience, convenience and cost. It's very important to put on the market payment instruments which are easy to use for consumer. And also related to convenience, it's also the aspect of cost. You have perhaps already heard me criticizing what banks are doing as regards the cost of instant payment, which consider is nonsense. If you want that all the consumer move to big tech to do their payment, why not? Continue, I say to banks, continue as you are doing. On the aspect of convenience, also, we have some question, doubt about contactless, which are very useful. But we have some concern, and I have the sailings, and I have in mind the judgment of the court of 2 days ago, about contactless card. And third dimension is choice. This is very important in terms of competition between payment instruments. And in the category of choice, I will put first cash. Very happy to see that Commission has in mind this aspect of financial exclusion and the need to maintain a minimum of cash. And if by any bad situation in the future, we have a digital coronavirus, what will be the situation in payment? Cash will be the only remaining solution for payment. And in the category of choice, also all the development of instant payment, and I can elaborate more on that, but we have no time enough. Very interested also on the MiCA text, this question of crypto asset. We have not said from the beginning that the Libra project was completely mad, but it's need to be properly regulated. And we consider that the new rules which are on the table about stable coins are very positive in the consumer perspective. And last, also, this idea of digital cash, which is also under discussion for the time being. It's also an important dimension because in this case, it's public money, digital public money, and also should protect this aspect of anonymous payment, which has one dimension from the existing cash. That's my main comment on the retail payment strategy from the Commission.
Thanks a lot, Jean. We will come back to you, of course, later. I would like now to take a few questions that we received from the participants. Maybe I would like to ask a question first to Cherry. It's coming from Gijs Boudewijn. What would be the European, if any, GAFA of payments that you see?
Yes, I mean, it's basically an expression. I've tried to make it. It's the whole idea is if few participant processors are basically taking a significant share of the market, and specifically in the acquiring, they would be in position to set their own rules, and specifically in terms of transaction fees, and potentially do whatever we don't even know what they could do moving forward with data, with sharing information, with whatever cross-selling they would be able to do with basically with the huge amount of data they would process. So that's, I mean, we've this is what we have seen before with what basically the real GAFA, and this is, and now we see that the regulation, the international regulatory offices are trying, and specifically in Europe, trying to regulate their behavior. Is so the question here is whether we're going to have to wait for this massive conversation happening before basically trying to regulate those aspects, or would basically the Commission and all the players who are supposed to regulate the market would take action beforehand. That was basically the whole idea of this expression, and this is what that has been said just before as well. At the end of the day, if my understanding, we do all these to protect the end consumer, to give more access, I mean, equal access to payment to end consumer, and that I think this is probably the most important, the crucial aspect of everything that we are doing here. And we need, that's not something that we can do ourselves. We need also the support and proactive probably of the regulation.
Okay, thank you. I would like to move to Anna, and maybe also something that Roland would like to respond to. We received a question from Dai Heiken, and question is, more merchants currently have the concern that the increased fee, or about the increased fees of global card schemes. Can you already explain how EPI can create a pan-European payments instrument which could be cheaper to the merchants?
Okay, I think we've seen in Spain like many experiences, successful experiences that can contribute to API, and I would like to share with you those results. And these are solutions based on instant payments in response to customer demands. And for example, this is the case of Bizum, which is a payment service that enables customers to make peer-to-peer payments from bank account to bank account in a secure, convenient, and fast way. And also it's costless for them. And they just have to know the recipient's mobile phone number. So it was launched 4 years ago, and we have now like over 12 million users. So it's a powerful success here in Spain, where even users right now, they just say, please make me a Bizum. No? They are not saying, please pay me. That's place like a commodity right now. So I think leveraging simplicity, safety, and immediacy is the key of the success of this solution. And it has tending its use to multiple applications and payments, like for example, donations to NGOs and e-commerce payments. But we also offer convenient solutions for the user, like attaching pictures, integration with voice assistants, and this demand of merchants and consumers is moving us to more use cases for the next years that will be B2C solutions, and also payments in physical stores. So I think it's one of our key learnings here is that the convenient solutions that address the consumer needs, putting the consumer at the center, with value propositions responding to the market reality, are the driver to boost adoption. And there, as I said before, is necessary to have a sustainable business model. But with Visum, we've proved that a cheap way for consumers can also be sustainable, because we based our business model in value-added services.
Thank you, Anna. Roland, would you like to respond to what Dai Heiken said?
Yeah, obviously, I think it's also a bit distinct from, I guess, peer-to-peer payments. I think you're talking about fees to consumers, whereas scheme fees are fees towards issuers and acquirers. Obviously, we heard this before. Our scheme fees have increased post IFR, and they are like a little bit higher than those of domestic schemes, but that's also is reflected in an innovation gap between domestic schemes and international schemes, because we are a commercial entity, whereas domestic banknote schemes work on a cost recovery basis. So if you then kind of take that to an EPI context, and EPI would, in my view, only be successful if they offer the same, if not better, to consumers than what we offer. They would need to invest. And what are the revenues for EPI as a scheme? Our scheme fees. So we would then obviously also expect that their scheme fees would be higher than those of domestic schemes today. And then I think the cost of acceptance, I think that's probably the most important point. They are not driven by scheme fees. I think the DG Comp report was published in June was quite clear about that scheme fees or network fees, if you take processing fees with it, are the smallest part of a cost of acceptance. And what really makes the difference is the acquire service model. So I think in Europe, I think we need to be careful if we start believing that switching the rails is going to make the difference for the cost of acceptance. It's actually about how do you deliver it to merchants, like a QR code or accepting a payment by a tablet or a phone. That will significantly lower the cost for a small merchant compared to having a terminal that comes at a fixed cost. I think that's an important difference to keep in mind.
Thank you, Roland. Maybe I would like to move to Eric. We received several questions primarily about the sovereignty aspects, and as well on the monopoly of that would then be fair to some extent related to instant payments. But the first question I would like to ask you is from Matteo Ortino. In the pursuit of the EU sovereignty and autonomy, how does the EU Commission plan to manage the competition from non-EU big techs?
Well, it depends what is meant by manage the competition. We are an open market economy, so everyone, of course, is welcome to compete on EU territory, and competition is good. It's excellent for everyone. So we are not at all in the business of erecting barriers to the entrance of non-European players. In fact, they are already there in a way. So the EU payments market is quite an attractive market with, let's face it, very attractive data pools. And these data are at the basis of the business model of some of these non-EU companies. So I would say that everyone is welcome as long as everyone abides by the rules. And by the rules, I mean the set of EU rules, including GDPR. And it is our responsibility to ensure that there is a level playing field, same business, same risks, same rules. And this is our responsibility, this is our duty, and this is clearly stressed and highlighted in the retail payment strategy. That's, if you want, our mindset. Everyone's welcome. Competition is good. Small, big, medium, doesn't matter. But we've got rules in the EU, high-level requirements, high-level standards, PSD2, GDPR. These are, if you want, the rules of the game. If you want to play with us, absolutely fine. But these are the rules, and everyone has to abide by them. So this is, if you want, I would say a political response that I'm happy to give to this question, which is indeed a very good one.
Okay.
And here,
Anna,
Peter, William, I could add that I think it's quite important what Eric said about creating a level playing field, because what we see in the financial sector is that with PSD2, there's a framework to share data in real time in a structured manner. So we are data gatekeepers sharing data with others, but we think that what gives real value to customers is that they can share not only their financial data and data related to transactions, but all their data about where they move, what they are buying, with whom they are relating. So I think there is a field of improvement in GDPR, because in practical terms, there is no effective mechanism to allow users to exercise their rights to fully capture the value of their data and support its use in the wider economy, because as companies have a month to respond to portability requests, it limits the usefulness of the right for building real-time business models above other data that are not in the scope of PSD2.
If I may quickly add on this, I think the issue of payment data, I think, is also bespoke to that of payment service providers rather than networks. Because just want to highlight, maybe for those who don't know, that as a payment network, we use data for the purposes of fraud prevention or operational resilience. So we would never monetize customer data.
Okay, very clear. Thank you, Roland. Then also I have a question for Jean. Innovation in retail payments facilitates new business models and products, such as buy now, pay later. That's spurred, for instance, with the COVID developments. Is this responding to consumer needs and expectation, and is it overall a positive development? This question was from Nikita Divisenko.
No, we have to keep in mind that consumers are not identical. They are different. Some consumers, in particular elderly people, will remain very much attached to cash. Some young never use cash. They always pay digital. And so if there are other payment alternatives like split payment or that kind of thing of this question, why not? If all that is done in a clear manner that the consumer understand exactly what is happening, no problem from our side. And just a remark on the previous discussion, I am not at all sure that all consumers understand what is happening when their payment data, when they agree to give access to their payment account. There is a real need to be sure that the consumer is very well aware when he gives his consent to any kind of facility, be a facility of payment, be an access to his bank account.
I think, Anna, do you want to respond to the last point? Otherwise, we move to the second part of the webinar.
No, I agree with what Jean Alex said. I think it's we should offer consumers a wide range of alternatives so that they can select what is more convenient for them in each situation and in each context. But I agree also with him that we will have to offer those alternatives with security and also with quite transparency, so that the user knows in its case what is he doing, what conditions does he have. And I think in this sense, API may play a relevant role, like offering consumers these digital payments that they are used to, these digital alternatives to their needs.
Thank you, Anna. I would like now to move to the second part of this webinar on the implementation of the strategy. I also saw that there were already quite a few questions from participants on how the Commission sees the implementation, what then, for instance, the role would be of several private actors, but also how this would consequence the sovereignty of the member states. Eric, what are the main next steps to realize the EU retail payment strategy?
Thank you, Willem. Well, I would say it depends on the initiatives. I mentioned before there would be different timelines. So of course, all this is not going to be done in a few months or even within a year. That will take 4 to 5 years. But what I would say is the immediate deliverable on our table is our decision as to whether or not we should, or we will, or we would propose some legislation for instant payments. I mean, for the moment, instant payments there is a scheme which is run by the European Payments Council, which is a set of rules. And we consider this, if you want, is the basic layer. If you want to offer instant payment, adherence to the scheme is necessary, is indispensable. It's not the end of it, but it is the beginning. And without that, at least in Euro, it's difficult to offer instant payment. So we said in the strategy that we would, before the end of the year, assess whether the adherence to this scheme should be changed from a facultative, optional one into a mandatory adherence. And this is exactly what we are currently doing. We are, with my team, we are reflecting, we are assessing the pros and the cons, really 2 columns. It may sound as a no-brainer, but it isn't. It isn't, because I mean, legislation may have some downsides. There might be some freezing effects. So it is not something that one would have to decide without a good and full assessment of the stakes, and with the stakes of the risks. So that's what we are doing. And another element of that is that if we were to decide to resort to legislation to accelerate the takeoff of instant payment, should it be limited to if you want, an end date for migration towards SCT Inst, or should there be other, if you want, items or requirements that should also be covered by such legislation? Jean-Alex mentioned consumer protection. Well, should there be a need, for example, to have some specific requirements for consumers in a EU legislation on instant payment? Should there be provisions on the business model and its compatibility with competition rules? Should there be provisions on infrastructures? Should there be a difference between euro area and non-euro area? Should we cover only the reachability? That means the capacity for a PSP to receive instant payment. Should that be the obligation, or should there also be an obligation to send, or to be able to send instant payment? So the sending and the receiving ends, should they be both covered? So you see, it's not that much a no-brainer. It is quite a complex reflection, which has a lot of ramifications. So this is what we are doing with, as I said, with my team, and probably this is the immediate thing on our radar screen. But there will be many other things coming, of course, in this reflection. Preparation for open banking, post PSD2. It's not for now, but it will come later. We announced the timeline for that. Access to infrastructures. I mean, one of the panelists, I think it was Anna, mentioned access to things like NFC. Well, that's also a very important thing, access to NFC infrastructures. Well, just an example, I mentioned NFC, but there are other infrastructures that one may wish to have access to. So this is also something which will have to be rapidly on our radar screen. Someone also mentioned, I think in the chat, the access by non-banks to infrastructures, to payment systems. That's also something we are going to have to look at pretty soon, because again, level playing field, same business, same risks, same rules. Is it normal that in this current payments landscape in the EU, there should be, companies providing in a way the same services, or at least services in the same domain, i.e. payments, some having access to payment systems, others that do not have access to payment systems. Is that a normal thing? This is exactly what we will have to assess and decide upon within FISMA in the near future. Also, something which will rapidly come on our map will be what Jean-Alix mentioned, this possible emergence of a digital euro, which will, if you want, compensate for the progressive phasing out of cash, which Jean-Alix also mentioned. This is not for tomorrow, but it is not for years and years. It is something which is which is becoming more pressing, also because there are some private and public initiatives in that field that are being launched. I'm thinking about Libra for the private sector, but I'm thinking also about work on a digital currency launched both within the EU, like in Sweden, but also outside the EU, like in China. So just to mention two examples. So this is something that we cannot keep sitting and watching and observing from a distance. This is something which is coming to on our screen pretty soon with the ECB, of course. So and again, this is not something which will be done clicking fingers. It will merit a lot of reflections in many domains, legal, technical, and competition, because there can be. It could potentially. It depends, of course, how such a digital euro would be designed, and what will be the possible limits to its issuance and to its usage. But depending on that, there could be some implications on private sector initiatives. So this is all the political and legal and technical considerations that we will have to reflect upon. So this, if you want, these are the immediate duties on our to-do list. But instant payment is again, I think, the number one, not just in terms of prominence, but in terms of coming soon on the map, if you want, on the radar. So this is what I could say there. But Rome was not built in a day, as they say, and it will take a while. And you asked me before what, and some panelists mentioned that, and I fully subscribe to that. It's not something. This strategy is not to be done from the, in my case, the fourth floor when I'm in my office, unlike these days, from the fourth floor of of a commission building. It is going to be done with the buying in of all the stakeholders, private and public. This is a common venture. This is a common objective, and I can hear from the panelists and read from the chat, I think, some support for this strategy. Let's do it together. Let's make payments, EU payments, great again. And I think one of the participants who contributed to the chat likes this sentence. I know that it's exactly. I could make this motto mine as well, but it's not going to do that alone. Believe me and trust me. Everyone will have to do something there. It is a joint venture in a way, public-private. That's the only way of having this work in good intelligence, and that's why I'm here speaking to you. That's why my door, my office door, is always open for discussions. We want to understand the market drivers. We're not, to pick up what Anna said before. If you read the strategy, you will not find a lot of legislative announcements. So there will be no wave of new EU law there. If there are some pieces of EU law which will be proposed by the Commission, it would be because we believe they are indispensable to accelerate, to promote, to remove barriers. I mean, we will only do these kind of things if there is added value, if we are convinced that this is better done at EU level via law than done by the market participants. So we've, I think, flagged the possibility of legislation in 2 or 3 instances out of 25 pages. For instant payments, as a possibility, for access to technical infrastructures, NFC, again, a possibility. Revision of PSD2, well, that can't be surprised because it is actually announced by PSD2 itself. So, we're not going to be, not going to think, legislation. That's often what people believe the Commission thinks. It's not what we think, and it's definitely not what I think. But actions will be taken at the right level in the right way, and I will see to that, that it is done that way.
Thank you, Eric. Maybe I would like to go to Cherry. You hear that Eric is saying quite, in a sense, wanting to limit the number of legislative initiatives in this. If you look at the strategy, what do you think that the policymakers in Brussels should do?
No, I think first of all, that document is great. It's a great message for the community. It's a great message for the software supplier like us. It would help us building investment plan for Europe. It gives great clarity on the way forward. What is required now basically by the community, probably not by the Commission itself, is a clear roadmap. So that's great. We're saying, I mean, we won't build ROM in a year or so. Great, but I mean, the banks, I mean, and our customers, they are planning their investment, and they're also expecting return investment. So we need more clarity in the rules. We probably need more clarity on how the regulation would evolve over 10 years, because this is how basically we're building business cases over 10 years. We're not building business cases in return investment on 10 years in such projects. So basically giving visibility, giving clarity, giving certainty to make sure that all the people, the supplier banks, technology suppliers, somehow would have a chance to get a return investment. I think this is basically what everybody would expect here moving forward.
Thank you, Cherry. If I would ask you, Roland, do you see any role for Visa, and if so, what role in the implementation or contributing to the objectives of the strategy?
So we definitely see a role for ourselves to play here. And I would say if you look in the market, I think instant payments are developing and we are contributing to it. I think most recently we signed like a partnership with Vips, which is a Norwegian bank-owned mobile instant payment solution provider and the most successful one in Europe today. So we see there are opportunities to work together and help grow those solutions. And as I said, we also technology service providers across instant payment use cases and have real-time card-based solutions, and these are already in the market. For example, we have partnerships with TransferWise, Western Union, and facilitate digital remittances. And I think to some extent you will see the market develop naturally. And I always like the approach from the European Commission, which is to think as a catalyst and making sure the framework conditions are right to help emerge new solutions for them to emerge more quickly. I think that's the right one, the right approach to take. I think from a policy perspective, what I think would be helpful is to shift towards a more principle-based, outcome-based approach. And I know that's not always as easier said than done. And I know, Eric, you must have heard that one before. And I think, for example, if you look at some examples like on contactless, and I think if you're talking to some extent about the new normal, I would almost say contactless is the new normal. And it could be card or account based, because we've seen that after the pandemic, contactless transactions have increased, and everyone quickly responded to regulators raising the limit to the maximum allowed, and issuers acquirers really changed processes. We would think that maybe moving forward, it might be helpful to give industry more flexibility, saying that you manage within certain fraud rates, and say if you can prove they stay low, you have some flexibility, and also probably maybe look if consumers can have a choice in that, obviously, as well. And that also I think is relevant for an open banking context. So I think in a way, I like how you said make payments greater again for Europe. But to some extent, I think Europe is already great, but could be even better. And I think open banking compared to APAC or the US, to some extent, we might trail behind. And I think that these because of certain things we could still change by allowing for more principal market-based approach, and notably with respect to the APIs. I think we see that other regions that have allowed for the commercialization of APIs, the banks were maybe more responsive, more invested in responding to consumer needs. And then maybe when we think about moving from open banking to open finance or further iterations, that may be something that we should take with us as lessons learned.
Thank you, Roland. If I then ask Anna more or less the same question, what role do you see for the API initiative and BBVA in the implementation?
Yes, I think as pointed out in the Commission, in the retail payment strategy, the private sector should play a leading role in the evolution of these retail payments. And I think, as pointed out by Eric, public and private collaboration is key of such evolution. And here I would like to refer to what Roland said, that the market has to develop naturally. And what we see, for example, here in Spain regarding instant payments, and also to answer to Eric, it is that we recently in October reached the 1 million daily immediate transfer process, which is almost 30% of total transfers. And with nowadays a reachability of 97% of the market, and with connection also to pan-European systems like RT1 and TIPS. And I think here, if we propose consumers and clients, also businesses, the right value proposition, is the market forces is driving our users to instant payments here in Spain. But we have also to consider that not all payments should be made instantly. There are, for example, for us, a wide range of payments, which are more company payments, like payrolls or other type of payments, that they don't have the capacity to process them and to trace them in real time. So they are not yet demanding this movement to real time. I think this will come with time, but it's not a demand we're seeing right now in the market. And coming back to what you asked me about the role of EPI, I think EPI could be a centerpiece for the realization of this strategy of the European Union, as it forces actions in many of the fields that we just outlined and are also outlined in the retail payments strategy. It's aligned with positions from the European public authorities, urging banks to build payment solutions on top of this instant payment scheme to ensure Europe's ability to offer an alternative and in the payment system to our users. And I also agree with Thierry that, in fact, provided that regulation, there is a regulatory certainty and stability granted, EPI will probably deliver a solution that realizes the European Commission's vision of having high quality, competitive and innovative payment solutions like made in Europe. No? I think here, as you mentioned, in our role in BBA, I think that our commitment to digital transformation and to solving our clients' needs with innovative value propositions, and also being a leader in open banking in Europe, could place us in a favorable position to collaborate with our authorities in finding the best way to accomplish the retail payment strategy or objectives. And here I agree with Roland that open banking is for us a key strategy. We've developed open banking at BBA before PSD2, and we see many use cases that are quite interesting for clients, but with out of the scope of PSD2. And I think the combination of open banking, this of giving the clients those responding to the clients' needs there where they have the necessity, where the necessity emerges, and this is not at their online banking systems. They usually is at their merchant when they are paying for their mobility services, when they want to pay to just a friend that that they have a common payment with him. I think we're quite sure that financial services should be integrated in third-party flows, and also for businesses. So for us, open banking is a very strategic positioning we have. But we think that the combination of open banking and open data, so that we can offer the clients what they need really with convenient solutions and quite customized, could be a booster of innovation in the following years.
Anna, thank you very much. Jean, if you hear all this, what the private sector and the Commission wants to do, what do you think about that from a consumer perspective?
Oh, I could have comment on many points of which have been said, but I will try to be short. Well, one first point is what Eric has mentioned as regard consumer protection and instant payment as a new normal. There is clearly here one issue, because if you look at the situation of consumer, in terms of consumer protection, consumer should use quite only direct debit. Why? Because it's in direct debit that the consumer is more protected. You have a lot of possibility to cancel the transaction. All that has been done on the idea that for direct debit, the consumer delegate to a third party the right to initiate a payment on his behalf. And so for that, he is more protected. And to some extent, we should do sometimes the same analysis as regard instant credit transfer, for example, when the right is delegated to PISP. But the basic idea is that for the time being, it's in instant payment that the consumer is less protected, and it can be solved by several solutions. Some can be done by legislation, some also can be done by rules of the schemes. The schemes can introduce more protective rule, and I think about that with the new discussion on the request to pay scheme that the EPC is creating, with the idea that this scheme, I am a member of the working group on that, should include a rule of consumer protection. Another aspect I want to underline is all the discussion on competition and between payment instrument and the choice of the consumer. May I say that I have some concern about API, if I well understand what I have read about that. Bon, the idea to merge the existing national card scheme into a single one, I applaud totally. Why a French consumer with carte bancaire cannot use his carte bancaire in Germany, or a Belgian consumer with bank contact cannot use in Italy. Completely agree with this idea. And perhaps we could discuss, we have no time to now, why it has not been done earlier, because that's not a new situation. At the same time, I see that API, the idea is to do also instant payment. And for the consumer, I think instant payment and the card payment, it's not at all the same thing. But may I say, my nightmare in terms of consumer choice and competition is that 16 European big banks take the full control of all card payment and instant payment on the EU market. Where is the competition with that kind of situation? And so if we need to maintain competition between instant payment and card, it should not be at all the same entity to manage the two. In terms of competition, it's nonsense. And so it's why I am a little, to say the least, surprised by the full support which is given by the ECB and the Commission to the API project. Because where is the competition between payment instruments in this situation? Anna has explained BISM. BISM, it's a very positive thing, but connection of all the existing BISM, and you have another alternative kind of payment. But all that has not to be managed by a single entity. That's my concern as regards this support by Commission and ECB to API.
Thank you,
I don't know if here I can add
Eric,
to...
would you like to respond? We need to finish, but just I think this is not something we can just leave before finishing.
I just wanted to add quite quickly that APIs is meant for the consumer's convenience. It's something that we have demand already of our clients. And for example, here in Spain, what our clients and also merchants and businesses expect is a scheme like Visum, but that is European-wide. They are looking for global solutions, and they would want to have a global solution. Since they don't have it, they expect a pan-European solution. And I think API, it's meant to add competition to international card schemes and also to Apple and Google Pay. It won't be the only one solution. It's an alternative solution that we want to offer. And when you hear like merchant and businesses concerns, they want to offer clients a wide range of payment alternatives, and they are the ones asking us to provide them card and instant payment solutions.
Thank you. We're going to reopen the discussion, but maybe one final word for Roland, and Eric, if you want.
I was just going to add one thing, like in the card scheme context and choice. I think we also today have domestic schemes being co-badged with international schemes. So anyway, because we already have international acceptance, but I think especially if we were to move to the EPIC context, it's important that if those cards are co-badged, that consumers have a real choice, effective choice at point of sale, which is often not the case today. And again, that was something that was noted in the DG Comp report.
Okay, Eric, was there something you wanted to add? You're on mute? No?
Sorry, I was indeed on mute. No, I mean, I appreciate Jean-Alexis' concerns, but I want to stress and to echo what I think Anna just said. What we see with EPI and what we expect with EPI is more competition, not less competition. So adding another European offer to the existing offers. So we don't see, if you want, a risk of substitution. On the contrary, we see a challenge and a chance of diversification, having another, this time purely European grown and pan-European payment solution. There is no such thing today, at least not EU born, if you want. There is no such thing. So that is what we've been calling for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And there have been some attempts in the past that failed, but 10 years ago. Now, the good thing is that some banks are trying again. They have not been fully put off by the failure of the money, as it was called, project 10 years ago, and they are trying that again. And I mean, how would we not support that? I mean, it's a pan-European homegrown payment solution, or payment solutions with an S, because there would be different instruments in their basket. There would be a card leg, and there would be an instant payment leg. So they would, in a way, bravely try to compete with different, players, Roland's company, Visa and MasterCard and Amex and PayPal and Apple Pay and Google Pay. Well, it's pretty daring and brave. We wish them the best, and that's a normal thing for us to say. It's a pan-European project of a European nature. Well, let's see what happens in the future. This is a private sector-led project, but from a political perspective, it echoes the calls of the ECB and the Commission. So we've just reaffirmed this support. That support does not mean a blank check, by the way, but it means, yeah, what we are doing, we think it echoes, it resonates with our own expectations, but it's not a blank check. So of course we will and we are looking more carefully at the details, and I don't want to get into that. I couldn't anyway. But okay, so this is what I wanted to stress, because I think that's important to explain why we support this.
Thank you very much, Eric. Sorry, Jean, we need to run out of time.
Just one word. Eric has said one leg for card, one leg for instant payment. I should say one body for instant payment and one body for cards, but not two legs to the same body.
Okay. Thank you, Jean. I would like to thank you, Anna, Eric, Thierry, and Roland very much for their contribution to this morning's debate. I also would like to thank all the participants that joined us today. Of course, ECRI will continue to work on payment and other retail finance issues. If you want to continue following us, if you are not subscribed yet, please subscribe to our newsletter on ecri.eu. If you have any questions, also don't hesitate to contact us, and hopefully we can see you back in one of our future events. Thank you very much.